And we're off. Okay, this is a glimpse into the future. I hope it's a glimpse into the future of lighting. It is definitely a glimpse into the future of IDA. And as soon as that works, we'll show you the future. I think everybody here probably knows this one by heart, but I'll throw it up because it's our guidepost. The mission is to preserve and protect the nighttime environment and our heritage of the dark skies through environmentally responsible outdoor lighting. It's a big mission. It covers an awful lot of territory. What we do to get to there is raise awareness, and that's our advocacy output. This is what we do every day. This is our core mission, and I think we do it pretty well. We also have branched into dark sky preservation a dozen years ago, and this is our most successful program. This is what resonates with the public. This is what makes people care about the dark sky. And ecotourism is a new phenomenon that's going to help us get more people interested. The goal has always been to get somebody into a dark place because they'll never forget it, and they're a supporter for life. But if you've never seen a dark sky, it's really hard to make people care. So keep in mind, the mission is get people aware of what they're missing. We have a whole generation growing up that's never seen the Milky Way, will never see the Milky Way. That's incredibly tragic. But it also means it's that much harder for us to get people interested if they don't know what they're missing. So the International Dark Sky Places, promoting quality outdoor lighting is second, I think, to preservation of the night sky. And this is something I think we can thank Dr. Crawford for, recognizing early on that we have to make friends with everybody. We have to bring everybody into the tent. We did not get here by standing on a soapbox screaming about what we wanted. We went out and started collaborating with everybody. Our work with the lighting industry has gotten us more progress than probably anything else we've ever done. Today, 60% of commercial lighting fixtures being sold are fully shielded. That would never have happened if we weren't around. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't talk to companies and try to get them to understand what quality outdoor lighting was. Now, I think everybody knows. Back when we started, not too many. So the Fixture Seal of Approval is a program that helps us do this. We have manufacturers send us information. We certify their fixture as being dark sky friendly. And if they are, they get to join the program and put the seal on their product, and it helps them sell fixtures. That's why they like us. And we're developing technical standards. We have most of the people that started the MLO 8 or 9 years ago. It was a real long, hard, heavy lift working with the Illuminating Engineering Society of North America, the standards group, and over a period of 7 or 8 years of a lot of negotiations, a lot of compromise back and forth, we got the model lighting ordinance, which is just now starting to take off. You heard Barb Thompson talk about the implementation in Minnesota. We're talking to folks in Malibu. That looks like the next place that will put it into place as the basis for their ordinance. And this year, we are coming up with the first revision of it, which will go to both boards next year for approval, and we will make it better. We will also bring out something called the MLO Lite, which will be something for smaller communities that they can probably use a lot easier than what the full-blown MLO is. But that's the progress we're making with technical standards. We're doing it in other areas, but we're also finding that to make the sell, to tell people our mission, we have got to collect the research, we've got to get the research done. A lot of it has just come online. You heard Nancy's talk, which has the promise of changing the way we do lighting and changing it to the tune of being able to use half as much light or more. And that is what we need to get out to the public. We need to get it out to the cities that are going to retrofit the world in the next 20 years to LED. If we can get it out soon enough and convince people that it's the way to go, we can really change the future of outdoor lighting. And if we do it using vision science instead of gut, I think we'll get there a lot quicker. Monitoring night sky brightness is something very near and dear to my heart. The IDA started a program called the Night Sky Brightness Monitor with the help of the National Science Foundation. We built some of the most accurate and the best night sky monitors ever made and put them in professional observatories. We're now looking at the next phase, and the next phase is going to be all sky monitoring. And you heard a lot of good details from Chad and Dan DeRisco. We're going to be going in that same direction, and we're hopefully going to adopt the Sky Quality Index as the model for IDA. And my job is to predict the future. So if you want to know anything about the lottery, come talk to me after. These are figures that we just recently updated. We had figures from about 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, which Dr. Crawford helped produce. And we look back at them and try to figure out where we are now and think about it worldwide, not just in the US. This is a crystal ball thing. We don't have a lot of good data from a lot of countries, especially once you get outside of the US and Europe. But this is a really good starting point, and I think I hope people will come up and say, no, that can't be right, I know this, and then we can start adding to it. We don't have enough people out there caring about this, but the statistics are staggering. I can run through them quick because they're real small and hard to read. Outdoor lighting only uses 8% of the total energy. 80% of it's used for commercial and public exterior lighting. There's 750 million outdoor lighting fixtures worldwide, 300 million outdoor lighting fixtures in Europe, 160 million in the US, and the asterisk is commercial and public exterior. This includes road, street, parking, and buildings. We estimate the total wasted energy from this is a staggering 60 to 70%. This is a massive change from what we talked about earlier. We were talking about the loss, the waste from uplight, the waste from putting in a bad fixture. We're now talking about the real total waste, and it's staggering because it's not just that. It's unwarranted lighting. How much lighting is installed and it has no purpose? It's just being installed because we can. We estimate 25%. Overlighting, excessive illumination, just putting in twice as much light, more light than you ever would need, 25% again. Not dimming them or having them on a curfew. Don't turn them off when you don't need them. Another 25%. You just see where we're going. There's just such a snowball of when you don't do the right thing with lighting. And then we get back down to, glare wasn't really included in the original calculations. We're including that. I mean, if you're hindering visibility, you're causing it to be more difficult to see, then you have no business putting lighting in. I mean, lighting's supposed to improve visibility. If you're not doing it, it's waste. So 15%. Uplight, 10%. That's where we started. This is our mission for the first 25 years was to explain how stupid it was not to put a fully shielded fixture in. We're now going to the next level, and 60 to 70%, if you could save that much energy in the world, I didn't even know what a petawatt was, okay? We're talking 1.1 petawatt hours annually of energy wasted. This actually gets people's attention. First, they don't know what it is, but second, they're like, wow, that's a lot. The equivalent of 500 power plants, typical power plants, running full time to produce that wasted energy. That's kind of, you start thinking that might be a bad thing. The power of that waste could power 7,750,000 homes. That's pretty significant. Producing 750 million tons of CO2. This is annually, every year, worldwide. And the cost was approximately $110 billion in US dollars. This, I think, is important. I hope everybody here knows this. Most of the time when I'm talking about it, they don't. And if you don't understand why we do lighting, you won't understand why we're having such a hard time getting to where we need to be. It should be straight off improved visibility. If you're not putting lighting in, why would you bother doing it? But it really came about, Edison's concept was to extend the day, and that was to enhance commerce. We just have to circle back all the time and remember why we've gotten to the place we're at, is that people want to be able to go shopping, go to restaurants. They really do want to be able to participate at night in the environment. So we light it. That doesn't mean we have to light it the way we light it. But the real gut feeling is to feel safer. This is why everybody is willing to invest the kind of money and energy that we're putting into lighting. It's to feel safer. And this is a tough one. This is hard to combat. If somebody feels safer because you put in a lot of bad lighting, then taking it away will make them feel less good. And that's, you've got to do education, but we're talking about re-educating what's been drilled into them for 100 years. Cities are afraid of being sued. They don't want to do anything outside of their comfort zone. They don't want to do anything outside of the standards unless they have somebody to point to that did it and did not, have accidents go up, crime go up, all that. So the fear of litigation is real. So don't talk to a group and ignore these things, because if you don't understand them, they're not going to understand you. And at the core, guys, it's a primal fear of the dark. This doesn't get any harder to undo. If somebody's walking down the street, they would rather be walking down the street during the day, not the night. They can see more. They would have a greater chance of being mugged, actually, but they would feel safer. So it all comes back. It's not logical. It is, in some cases, gut. It is what makes people want more lighting. This is what I've been preaching for the last year, and I hope I'm not preaching this in 10 years, because we will miss a boat that will never come again. We really do have a once-in-a-century paradigm shift in lighting. We don't get the things that are all happening at the same time. We have a historic convergence of events. We have an interesting global climate change. There's almost, I'm not going to get political, outside of some factions, most people accept there's probably a problem with the climate. We have a global economic crisis that we haven't seen for 80 years or so, and we have steadily increasing energy costs. Conservation goals, and we have a technology called solid-state lighting, which includes LED. And thanks to a lot of good research coming out, we're starting to understand visibility so much better than we did 10 years ago. We now understand how we can do a better job of lighting. If we look at all this stuff, it all could not have happened at a better time. The convergence of having it happen, if we could get everybody to sit down and listen, would mean that we could plot a future of better outdoor lighting, much more energy efficient. The problem is history. If you keep studying it, you keep understanding how we get to where we are. When we get a new increase in efficiency and lighting technology throughout our history, it goes back from gas lamps to high HID lamps. Every time we get it, we have the capability of saving a lot of energy, just using the same amount of illumination. We don't have to increase lighting. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. We just increase the lighting levels. We've done this over and over again. We keep seeing, well, we can do it. Let's put more light down. It won't cost us any more. We've got to try to think different this time. Look at the really big picture. There's a lot of things that don't get paid for because we spend a lot of money doing things that we don't need to do. We can't just focus on the energy efficiency. Focus on what you don't get to do, the opportunity cost. And this is in the other slides, so I'm not going to go over a lot, but these are the elements that will help us get to a better outdoor lighting future. Is we've got to consider other things. HID to LED will only get us a very small portion of the way. 35 to, or 25 to 50%. But we can get 30 to 50% more savings just by putting adaptive controls into every fixture, every system that's installed. My line to every city is, if you install it today without adaptive controls, you've successfully installed obsolete technology. Before it's on the pole, it's already obsolete. And we can reduce wasted light, just like we talked about, 50% again, but we gotta make lighting more ecologically responsible. I mean, if we don't do it now, it's not gonna get done for quite some time. We have the power within this technology to educate the public, educate the consumers that high color temperature, blue-rich white light is not necessary. We don't need it for this conversion. We can do a better job. The technology has evolved so rapidly in 5 years that we no longer have to say, yes, you've got to do this and you have to lose a lot of energy at the same time. Within a couple years, there will be no significant delta. You can do good lighting and it can be without a lot of blue-rich white light. Doing it right, this is our mantra. Everybody knows this by heart. We got to improve visibility. We got to reduce the adverse impact of outdoor lighting. Light only when needed, light only what is needed, light only at the illumination level needed. The path ahead. For 25 years, we've promoted shielded fixtures and ordinances. But light pollution actually continues to grow each year, 3 to 5%. That makes it tough on us because we're continually telling people what to do, but they're not doing it enough, they're not doing it fast enough, so the problem is not going in the right direction. We must focus our efforts on reducing total global lumens. This is the mantra for the next 25 years. We've got to change the way we think about lighting. If we can reduce half the lighting, reduce half the lighting. And that's the only way we're going to keep up with the growth. Because as we put in more lights, if they're fully shielded and they're using less illumination level, then we could see this trend, we could bend the curve. And I want to be clear, I mean, I hope nobody in here thinks that LED is the problem. LED lighting is not the problem, okay? So don't be against the future. We're not going to hold back the hands of time. This is happening, guys. When it happens, let's just make sure it happens as best as it possibly can. Uncontrolled lighting growth is the problem. Excessive illumination level is the problem. No formal warranting standards are the problem. I mean, an awful lot of cities put light in based on no reason at all. They do it because citizens want it or businesses want it and they ask for it, but there's no policy to say, why should we put it there? Is it doing something? Is the value of it outweighing the negative impacts? And high color temperature blue rich white light is the problem. The future, in a very short time, less than a year, manufacturers will have on the market warm color temperature LEDs with no blue at all, nothing below 500 nanometers. It's what we've been asking for 5 years. It's happening. The efficiency is still going to be a little less than the highest blue-rich white light, but we now have the tool to get to where we want to go. We've got to promote that, along with adaptive controls, warranting standards, and public education. Keep in mind, the public has been told light equals safety, and more light equals more safety. This is the problem. It's not true, and if we can't come up with the research to show that it's not true, this is a very hard sell, because you get cities all the time. I deal with Chicago. Chicago lights at 3 times the national average for street lighting. And the reason is it is something where people come to their alderman and say, I don't think I'm safe. My community feels like it needs more light. And to get votes, they put in more light. They could have put the lights in 2 years ago, and they'll put in more lights, and they'll get more votes. It's political, but it works for them because it makes people feel safer. The crime will probably go up, But nobody's going to go that far down and drill that far down to find out what happened after you did it. Chicago did it for us, which is amazing. They did a study on alleys and lighting their way out of crime. Mayor Daley decided that he was going to make a public initiative to light up every bad, crime-ridden neighborhood and come in and double the lighting. Light alleys that were never lit, but light them, and light every bad street from keyhole to keyhole. Not street, sidewalk. The front yard, your front door, all the way to the other side. Light the whole thing up. Looks like a prison, and the communities loved it. They just loved it. They felt safe. They went out at night. Everything felt like, wow, they really understand us. And then they came back later, a couple years later, did the research. If you didn't put the lighting in, the average neighborhood with the same problems got about a 10% decrease in crime. That's the national average. That was going to happen no matter what you did. But in these special cases, it went the other direction. The crime went up 10 to 15%. So you got a delta of 25%. By putting in the more light, you found out that some criminals actually like light. It helps them do their job. They don't have to carry as much stuff with them. Carrying floodlights to do, their work slows them down. You put in more light. Don't think it only helps the citizens. It helps the people size up their targets. It helps them figure out who to mug and which houses would be good to steal stuff from. So it's counterintuitive, but thanks to Chicago, we actually have some real data to back it up. We got to just educate the public on real safety. Real safety is not more light, and if the sooner that we can quantify this with good research, the quicker cities are going to listen to us when we talk to them. The worst case scenario for us for the future is one-for-one swaps with every light that's out there is going to become an LED light. And that's the safe, easy path. And that's how I see it going every time you turn around. LA did it. New York's going to do it. They're going to become the models for the world. They're going to say, yeah, we can make this so much better. We don't have to use adaptive controls. We don't have to reduce illumination levels. We just swap out the lights and claim 30%, 40% energy efficiency. You look green. You look like you are doing the right thing. The public doesn't even know that you could do so much more. So that's why the public education has to happen. We talked about this. That's important. It may make you feel safe though, and you can't talk around that. I hope you can read this because I'm just going to kind of blow through these. We talked about this, but this is one that really bothers me because I'm getting old. Glare causes accidents. Yeah. I mean, it's so totally clear. The research is there, and it hurts seniors disproportionately. If you have any problems with cataracts, with just the aging eye, as your eye ages, it doesn't allow the light to get through as well, and it likes to bounce light around inside your eye. That makes it like driving with a windshield that's dirty. And that means that seniors tend to not drive as much at night. Their mobility is restricted because we don't do good lighting. And that's not fair. And then, like I said, it can assist criminals as well. Light does not cure crime. If somebody tells you it does, tell them, show me the research. Give it to me. I don't care if there's research out there that actually proves that. I'll include it, but it's not there. Okay, so it's a gut feeling. It's an urban legend, and it is prevalent. Lighting is sold as a quick cure because the real solutions to crime require societal change. They're hard. This isn't easy stuff. You have to increase resources, education, employment opportunities, long-term community involvement, community policing. This is a heavy lift. And communities over and over again would love to plaster the area with lighting and say, look what we did for you. What I would love is every time you do that, you go back and do the research. What did you do for them? Did you fix the problem? Are we actually making it safer with lighting? How much light do we need to be safe? Nobody knows. Nobody's taken the time to really study it. Are we actually improving visibility? This is our sweet spot. We have got to find ways to make outdoor lighting do what it's supposed to do. And the standards, it would be really nice if they're science-based instead of consensus. Need more research, less gut feeling. Identify the total adverse impact of outdoor lighting. And just focus on energy efficiency. Don't focus on just the ecological impact. It is the money wasted. It's opportunity cost. When you're not able to pay teachers, you're not able to put books on students' desks because you're willing to throw away that much wasted light in your city. Let's make that an issue. Let's let people know what they're actually wasting. Is it really worth all this? One thing I love is that roadway lighting improvements and standards in general haven't looked at headlights. Headlights are messy. You don't know how much they're going to be and where they're going to be pointed. So we do research, we do standards as if you're driving around without them. And this seems a little silly at this point in time. We will know in the near future that you don't need lighting in many cases because your headlights are going to do the job for you. Let's stop putting lighting in areas that don't need it. Let's start thinking about all the developments that have come out in the last dozen years that it doesn't seem like it ever percolates down into the Department of Transportation. So city planners they're not aware of it and they're not comfortable trying new things. But we've got passive illumination improvements, signs, reflectors. You see them, but they've gotten a lot better. We can use more of them. We can paint things to make sure you see them. We used this in the National Park Service, and it was so easy, and yet it does such a good job. If you have a boundary and you have sunlight and you paint the curb white, all of a sudden you can see the boundary, and you didn't need any more light. Cities need to think about this. They need to spend more time on alternatives, not just throwing light on it. Photoluminescence is glow dots. You can put things in ecologically sensitive areas, no energy whatsoever. But it does wayfinding. You find your path because it's there. You don't have to have overhead lighting. Active road marking. I've seen some great things being done in Europe on this. You have curves that have embedded LEDs. You're driving 90 miles an hour down the Autobahn, and when you come to your ramp, there's no overhead lighting. Most likely no lighting in Germany, but if you go, you can have your path illuminated before you. It's active. If you're not there, it's not being lit. The curve, it's like landing a 747. You now know where you need to go without having lights overhead. And adaptive controls, this is the future. I love this because the technology that's coming out is just making them better every year. Visited a company in Amsterdam that's created something called CitySense. It's not just an adaptive control. It's an adaptive control that senses you. If you put it in a neighborhood street, you can turn your lighting down to 20%. You could turn it off if you could talk the neighbors into it. When you go out to walk your dog, it's programmed to sense how big you are and how fast you're walking, and it might only come up 20%, just enough so you can see. You pull your car out and you're going to drive down the road, it'll go up to wherever you want it. You program it. This is a safety net. This is a security blanket for communities that may not want to go the full 9 yards of a curfew. They may feel like that's going to make their citizens not safe. This is a transitional strategy. In the meantime, you can make them feel safer with a whole lot less energy. Did I miss one? Or? No. Okay, so lighting research, we need to rethink how we light. Well, this is repetition. White light will allow lower illumination levels. We don't know how low, but Nancy's research is pointing to a whole lot less than what most cities are lighting at now. And contrast, both color and luminance, is going to be the future. It matters much, much more than uniformity or lighting levels. In fact, uniformity is starting to look like it works against visibility. So, talk about turning standards on its ear. This is where we can go to prove the case and get more participation. Don't have to say that too many times. Yeah, we spend an awful lot of money on lights. It would be great if we did them right. Who will do the research? This is my frustration. In the old days, the industry would do the research. They would make sure that they understood the products and how they could make a better product. But this speed of development has pretty much made that obsolete. You probably don't want to spend 5 years researching what that product's going to do because it only is going to be out for 2 years. It's starting to look like computers. Lights are like computers. The technology is moving that fast. If you have a 5-year-old computer, you're not feeling like you have state of the art. And that's where we're going to be in 5 years with LEDs. All the LEDs that get installed early, like I said, if you didn't put adaptive controls, if you weren't future-proofing your investment, you're going to look pretty silly. Why isn't a national priority? Why isn't the DOE focused on finding the ways to save all the energy we possibly can? Beyond building a better mousetrap, the best LED, what can we do to save all the energy? This is our new initiative. This is the one I think will carry us through the next 25 years, and hopefully at the end of 25 years, IDA can close its doors and we will have solved all the problems. This is the goal. We think we can show that you can reduce illumination level 75% with white light. We got to get a roadmap how you get from point A to point B. This is called the Smart Urban Lighting Initiative. This is what we're going to market to every city that's changing their lighting out. We got to get the information to them before the lighting manufacturers come in the door telling them to do the safe thing. This will be fine. You'll get a 5-year payback. We can tell them for another year's payback or less, you can get something that will be installed for 25 years and you're going to be saving way, way more energy. We got to trying to be delicate here, but if you go into look at how lighting is designed in cities, roads, states, and such, it's by the numbers. It's by the numbers. It could be AASHTO, it could be IES, it could be an internal standard, but it's all about meeting the numbers. You've got to stretch a road. You've got to have this much light on it. You have to have this much uniformity. You plug it in the computer, you spit it out, and we've been doing that for 50 years, not with a computer, but we do the same thing. We try to find the way to use the new technology with old design, the old way of doing things. Radically changing design isn't something most Department of Transportations and city lighting bureaus are comfortable with. It gets people fired. When you do things different, if it doesn't work out, heads do roll. We have to be the group that can help people who want to be doing the right thing point to the right information, see the research, prove to their city councils that they can do this without causing accidents, increasing crime, whatever it is. We have to be the body to do that because nobody else is going to do it. We got to get partners, but we got to be the ones at the lead. Reducing overhead lighting is really where I want to go. I mean, we put overhead lighting in for 50 years because it was the only thing we could do. It was the way we thought lighting should be. That's why you see it. That's why it's being done. The idea with the technology that we have today that we're just going to keep doing that for the next 50 years is crazy. We have things that will use 80% less energy and do better jobs. So we can't keep going down the same path because it's a comfortable path. We got to move the actual light closer to the source. It's a simple law of physics. You don't need as much light if you put the light closer. So putting them up on tall poles, if you have massive amounts of energy to waste, that's the way to do it. But we can do it better. And take into account when headlights are doing it for you. They're installed already. You don't have to spend any more money on it. Let's make sure that we use them wherever we possibly can. Less uniformity is probably going to make better visibility. That's huge because our biggest problem in the past is lighting engineers in cities don't want to change anything because they're going to reduce their uniformity. They shield their lights, they don't get the same uniformity, and that nixes it. That's their argument du jour, why we can't do anything new. It turns out that not only was the argument flaccid, we now have some proof to show that it wasn't true. And contrast is visibility. That's how we see. If you can see contrast, color and luminance, you'll be able to detect something sooner and you'll be able to stop. And that's what we do lighting for. But let's educate the public on real safety. Let's push for warranting standards. Let's install demonstration projects. As part of this, if we can get a half dozen cities to install the best technologies in a environment that other cities can come and visit and see why it does a good job and how much energy can be saved, and then collect all the data for a year, 2 years. Let's just prove that it didn't change, or what I think is going to happen, it's going to improve safety. You're going to see better data, fewer accidents, fewer fatalities. Once we have that, that is the holy grail. You go in and you talk to people and you say, we don't just feel it, here's the data. This is what happened when this city did that. This is what I close with pretty much everything. Using lighting efficiently is an essential component of a national energy independence policy. I mean, if we could get the federal governments, not just the U.S., all federal governments to understand that saving energy is actually good for the public, and wasting it is just unsupportable. Used in an ecologically responsible manner, new lighting technologies can save money, reduce energy use and CO2 while conserving precious resources and protecting the nocturnal environment. It's a mouthful. This is the next generation mission. We've got to talk about this every time we talk to communities. That's it.